الله أكبر الله أكبر.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال كذلك يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. وبعد فإن الأصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My respected brothers and sisters, I would just like to take this opportunity to remind us as Muslims that we come from a single soul, as Allah says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمْ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ مِنْ نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, meaning Adam. O you who believe, have taqwa of your guardian Lord who created you from a single soul, meaning Adam. وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا, and made from that soul his mate, meaning Eve, and spread from those two all of the multitudes of men and women that we see. So Islamically, this Islamic paradigm is for the unity of humanity. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said in a beautiful hadith when he was talking about the creation of Adam alayhi salam, said that Allah created Adam from a fistful of dirt from all of the dirts of the earth. And so that's why we find different shades, because you find dirt that's white, you find dirt that's red, you find dirt that's black, and you find dirt in the middle of those things. So from Adam, he was created from all of the dirts, all of the soils of the earth, and that's why we're in different shades. And Allah also, and the Prophet ﷺ, he went on to say, and that's why just as you find some earth is good earth, and some earth is just standard, I guess, earth, and some earth is filthy earth. Men are just like this, regardless of the race or regardless of the skin complexion. Some men are going to be good, some men are going to be just regular, standard, some good and some bad, parts in both of them. And then some men are just going to be totally 100% bad. You know what I'm saying? So we shouldn't, even though we see things that might compel us to be angered at certain races or certain people, we shouldn't let our thinking be corrupted by the events of the world. And we should understand that these events are happening because Shaitan is almost got free hands. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that once the Muslims stop doing their duty on the face of the earth, which is to enjoin the good when we see it, and forbid the wrong when we see it, will be faced with great calamities. And so a calamity for the Muslims is going to affect everyone. It's not just going to affect us. So that we're not enjoining the good, and we're not forbidding the wrong, and we're not going to people when times aren't that bad and saying, look, we shouldn't have these racial biases against one another. But it's hard for us to say that as Muslims, because sometimes we have those biases ourselves. There's an Arabic word, it's tasnif, which means to classify. And so the Muslims go beyond classifying people according to race and national background. We do that too. But we even classify people, you know, we make all kind of, oh, well, you know, he's an Ikhwani. Or, oh, that brother right there, he's, you know, I mean, you know, he's one of them Sufi brothers. Or that. But Allah in the Quran, He said that He named us Muslims. He didn't name us, you know, the Ikhwanis or the Maturidis. So when we see each other, we should see each other as being Muslim. Because when I was young, we used to say, or my parents used to say, I'm not that old, if you can name it, you can claim it. So all of the old people up in here, they say, oh yeah, I remember that saying. I didn't used to understand it. I was like, you know, why would I try to claim something just because I can name it? But it's a slick way of saying, if you can name something, you can make a claim about that thing. So if you just say, okay, this person's Muslim, and that's what you call him, you're going to say, okay, well, you know, he prays 5 times a day. Because that's what Muslims do. He believes in the oneness of Allah. He believes in the final messenger. But if you can say, oh, well, you know, that guy's a Wahhabi, then you can make different claims about him. Say, oh, man, you know, he's an extremist. He's a jihadi. Oh, that dude, where he's soft. He's one of them Zaytuna brothers. You know what I'm saying? You make different claims about the Muslims when you start to name the Muslims. And then it makes people who come to Islam, because you know, when people come to Islam, a lot of times, they see in Islam what they're missing in their life. They're like, okay, these people say we all come from Adam and Adam comes from dirt. And that's how I feel about life. I'm about to be down with the Muslims. And then they go to one masjid and they hear about the Muslims on the other side of town. Yeah, you know, this masjid, we're going to teach you about this. Beware of those Muslims, though, because they're going to teach you something else. You know what I'm saying? It's deviant. So, and all of us do it. I'm not trying to point out, you know, one group does it. The other group does it just as much, equally. It's not like, it's just like the racial thing. African American brothers come to me a lot and they be like, man, them indigenous brothers is racist, or them immigrant brothers is racist. I be like, how come they racist? They won't let me marry their daughters. And I'll be like, you don't even have a job. You know what I'm saying? But they don't even see that what they're saying is just as racist as what they're trying to say that other people is practicing against them. Because they're making a claim about a brother just because he was born in another country. And I'm going to tell you the truth about Muslims that I know. I met a lot of Muslims. And the Muslims in general, they love their families. They want the best for their communities. They don't like crime. They don't like discrimination. In general, the vast majority of Muslims, if you was to ask them, what do they want? It would be positive things. They want, you know, good education for their kids. They want, you know, they don't want crime in the streets. They don't want drugs to be, you know, sold, you know, except for at the pharmacy. Some of them drugs might be worse than some of the other ones. But in general, they don't want those things. They want good things, and that's because they're Muslims. And we should understand that Allah has honored the human being. because, and this is on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar, he said that there's 4 things in creation that Allah created with his hands, and everything else, he said, kun fayakun, and they came into existence. Those 4 things is Jannatul Firdaus, which is the highest Jannah. The Qalam, which is the pen, which he writes with. The Arsh, which is the throne of Allah. And Adam, alayhi salam. So Allah has honored human beings in general. And of those human beings, he's honored the Muslims. Because he said about us, kuntu khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas, that you are the best community ever brought out for all of humanity. So humanity is a great creation that Allah created, and of that creation, he created Muslims. And so when we see each other, that should be in our mind. When we see a human being, period, we should, because in America, sometimes, we won't speak out against injustice happening to people because they're a different nationality from us, but then we'll be all upset about the spotted owl or the humpback whale. We got to save it. And we should be trying to save the humpback whale, but we should try to save human beings, because human beings have a special significance on the face of the earth. Allah created us for a special purpose. So as Muslims, and I'm not trying to say don't care about endangered species, but I'm saying we should prioritize, and we shouldn't say, okay, it's okay for whole swaths of people to be marginalized, whole groups and areas of people to be disenfranchised, but as long as we got a good place to walk our dogs, then everything is okay in America. That's not how we should think. We should think, well, we'll put the dogs to the side, you know what I'm saying, and try to work on these human issues for a little while. Because if you can fix the human being, everything else will take care of itself. You'd be like, the ozone is messed up. If you fix the human being, the ozone will take care of itself. Because we won't be burning the chlorofluorocarbons, or whatever you call it, because we'll be fixed. So we won't say, okay, I got to get in my car to drive 2 blocks. I'll just walk down the street. And I only drive when I have a real journey. You know what I'm saying? But it's the human beings that have to be fixed. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina al-Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen, Nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Yaqulullahu ta'ala fil Qur'an al-Kareem, inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. So we just wanted to just basically talk briefly. Actually, I was going to talk about Adam and his creation. I got a little bit sidetracked. And so just to get back to some of the points about Adam. So as Muslims, like I was saying before, we should see each other, not just Muslims, but human beings, as having one origin. And this is different from the rest of creation. So the angels don't have a common father. The angels don't procreate. Every angel was created by Allah. He just created each angel. With human beings, we have a common origin, and that's Adam and Eve. And so Adam, he was created, and there's difference of opinions on whether or not he was created on earth and then brought to Jannah. or whether or not he was created in the skies and then brought to Jannah, or whether or not he was created in Jannah, which is probably one of the strongest opinions, is that he was actually created, even though the earth that he was created from was brought from earth, he was actually created in the paradise. And him and his wife were given to live there, and then they were tricked by Shaitan. And so the main thing that's going to get us off of, living a good life is being dupes for Satan. And so that's what we have to encourage each other not to do. We got to encourage each other not to let Satan trick us, because Satan is trying to make us follow him into the hellfire. And that's what these calls, the Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who does a call of Jahiliyyah is going to burn in Jahannam. And so the Sahaba who were around him when he made this statement said, even if he fasts and he prays, and the Prophet ﷺ said, even if he fasts and he prays, meaning he'll still burn in Jahannam. So what is the call of Jahiliyyah? And this is just a side note, because it's important, because I don't want people to say, okay, well, the brother got up here and said we shouldn't describe anybody, or, you know what I'm saying, because descriptions, sometimes we need to describe people. Sometimes I'll be talking to someone, I'll be like, they'll be like, brother Farouk, and I'll be like, which Farouk? And they, they'll be from another race, and they won't want to say he's African American. They'll be like, he goes to the masjid, and I'll be like, can you narrow it down? So finally I'll be like, is he black? Yeah, he's black. Okay. Yeah, I know Farouk. But so we do, sometimes we have to describe each other. And Allah and his messenger, he described the Sahaba. So he said that some of the Sahaba, if they came from Mecca and they migrated to Medina, they was called the Muhajirun, the Muhajir. So somebody who immigrates, makes hijrah. And then the people who lived in Medina, they were the Ansar, because they helped the actual people from Mecca once they got to Medina. So they were helping them. But then one time the Muslims, they were coming back from a scouting mission, and they went to the well. Two Muslims went to the well. One was an Ansar and one was a Muhajir. They were youth. So they got into a dispute over the water, who's going to go first. And so it got kind of physical. So one person said, "Oh, Ansar, come to my aid." And then the other guy, he called the Muhajirun, "Come to my aid." And the Prophet ﷺ, he heard this. And he went out and he said, "Will you give the call of Jahiliyyah even though I am among your midst?" So here's a Quranic term. It's found in many hadith. But if you use it to classify somebody and to cause partisanship, it's one of the calls of Jahiliyyah. So anytime you decide to call another Muslim something, and you're doing that to put them in a category, this is the call of Jahiliyyah. And the Prophet ﷺ said anybody who does it is going to burn in the hellfire, even if he fasts and even if he prays. So you can't say, well, I'm a good Muslim, I'm fasting and I'm praying, but I'm not down with them Wahhabis. I'm a good Muslim, I'm fasting, I'm praying, but I'm not down with them Sufis. This is ignorance, because the majority of people are upon what they're on because that's where they were born. They came to know enlightened decision about how to practice Islam. It's like my dad, my granddad, my great-granddad came from this part of the world, and this is what we think is the truth, and that's what they're on. But when we start to categorize each other, then it's, okay, You can make mockery of them. Man, all them dudes, man. And some of the things that we mock is Sunnah the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Authenticated Sunnahs, but we mock it and say, look at that, oh, they just over there with them beards, them Taliban brothers. A beard is the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He commanded us to wear beards. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, look at them dudes, man, with them high water pants, man, them Wahhabi brothers. It's like, this is not Islam. When we do this, this is the opposite of Islam. This is Jahiliyyah. So it's not just to say, okay, I'm not going to call somebody black, so I don't have Jahiliyyah. If you are categorizing Muslims and you're classifying Muslims, because why is the purpose? Why are you classifying that Muslim? Because you want to say, Ana khayru minhu. And this is what Shaitan said. I'm better than him. I got a more nuanced understanding of Islam. You know, I know the way forward. He don't know. He's backwards. He come from that country over there. They don't know nothing. I'm an American Muslim. I'm better than all of these other Muslims. I got to teach them how to be Muslim. That's Jahiliyyah. And this is, you know, I'm saying this, my ears are closer to me than anybody else's. I know that, you know, I got to check the way I talk about Muslims myself. But we should all check, especially when we see what's going on in Ferguson. Because the reason why a young black man can be shot down in the street is because black men in general are criminals, and that's how they're looked at. Not saying they're actually criminals, but I remember one time I was standing outside of my job, I was taking a break, and you know, one of my coworkers was coming down the street, and then she was kind of walking kind of like slow. And then she got up on me, she said, oh, you know, when I was coming up the street, I was like, man, that dude looked like a thug. Then I said, oh, that's just Mr. Rashid. You know what I'm saying? And she's, you know, African-American sisters. It was like we internalize these stereotypes ourselves because they're so prevalent in the media. So, you know, black folks would be the first person to say, you know, you black dudes, and I can't trust y'all. You know, we'll be walking down the street and see some black dudes say, okay, I'm gonna cross the street. Because it's what we internalize, just because the media is so prevalent. So you can understand if she's scared of me, and we worked together since 2005, but she saw me on the street and was scared. You can understand why a police officer would be scared of a teenager, or Zimmerman would be scared of a teenager. And then when people murder, it's out of fear. They say, I was fearing for my life from a 110-pound 15-year-old. I thought he was going to do something to me. So really what we need to do as Muslims is challenge the media and say, why are you projecting this image of a whole race of people? So that even people from that race start to fear each other. That's what we need to do. Because we got to enjoin the right and forbid the wrong. Allahumma ihdina fi man hadayt, wa a'fina fi man afayt, wa tawallana fi man tawallayt, innaka taqdi wa la yuqda alayk. Allahumma ansur al-islami wa izz al-muslimin wa thabit aqdam al-mujahideen fi kulli makan ya rabbal alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala sayyidina al-anbiya'i wa mursaleen nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Aqimus salat.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله